Hey everybody, Chuck Holton here. Thank you for watching the Hot Zone. I have a special guest for today. I'm actually traveling today, and so in lieu of a live, I'll likely we'll put this up unless I get a chance to do a live when I'm in Barcelona. But Ryan McBeth is a guy that I met a couple years ago now. He's now working with Newsmax as well, so we have that in common and just came back from a trip to the land. Came back from a week in Israel, and Ryan, I can't wait to hear about your trip. So tell me how it went.
I mean, it was a fascinating trip. wasn't the first time I'd been there. I was there back in 2004 when I was with the military, and you know, three surprising things. The first is that you're not allowed to smoke anywhere anymore, which was like, ah, darn it! I brought all these cigars with me. Number two is firearms. When I first went there, you saw soldiers, off-duty soldiers carrying firearms. The security guards in the malls were armed. But for the most part, no. Today, a lot of people are carrying firearms. And the third thing is flags. Like when I was there, I think I only saw flags at checkpoints, and now there's flags everywhere in Israel.
That's
So,
right.
yeah, I mean, a lot has changed in the past 20
Even
years.
on the wall of the old city at night. I don't know if you got
Hmm.
down there at night, but they project the flag up on the wall, a huge one. It's very cool. Uh, so you got to travel around a little bit. I saw you went up to Maj Al Shams, and where? What other places did you get to see?
Pardon me. Oh boy. So news. I'm not criticizing Newsmax in any way, but man, they were working us like crazy. Um, so I guess it was kind of half tour and half actual like journalism, right? Where you could ask questions and such. Um, we went to Kibbutz, oh god, Negavaz, I believe is the name, which was it's right up on the border with Gaza, and that was where about 350 or so fighters came over the fence, attacked the
Hmm.
kibbutz, caused a number of casualties. So we went there. We saw the Nova Music Festival site, where about I think it's 375, 380 some security guards and party goers were killed at a rave, at an outdoor rave. Um, Saw the dumpster where a lot of people hid in. It's now almost like a sacred
Like
marker.
a memorial. Yeah.
Yeah, I did go up to the north into Golan. I met the mayor of this town where it's predominantly Druze, and then met the families of some of the victims of a Hezbollah rocket attack that just
Yeah, I
kind of
saw you
fell
were
in the
out on
middle of
that soccer field
yeah.
in Maj. That's Majd Al Shams.
Uh-huh.
Um, and what I was just there a couple of weeks ago, and it was there were kids playing soccer on it. But when you were there, it looked like they had torn it all up and they were building something there.
Yeah, they're I think they're tearing it down. They're going to build a new soccer field there. It was a construction
Hmm.
site, so we were given exactly 2 minutes to get out there, do the story, get back.
Wow.
And yeah, but I got what I needed out of it. Made a little video out of it.
Hmm.
Uh, Boy, where else did we go? I mean, we visited the Knesset. I got a chance to talk with their equivalent of the Speaker of the House, the Speaker of the Knesset. Um, that was kind of interesting. I will tell you the security guards there. They look like straight up killers, straight up killers. And
And they will kill you.
well, funny thing. I think I would not be. I looked like a lot of them were Muslim. A lot of them looked Arab and Muslim. Um, and I wonder if that's like a thing, like like you want to surround yourself with, because like the Saudis, I think they used Druze security guards, and Gaddafi went and found like Amazon women to be his
Hmm.
inner circle. So I guess like if you have people from a different culture as part of your inner circle or part of your bodyguards, there's less of a chance they might try to take power or something like that. I
That's an
don't know the
interesting
reason for it.
observation. I actually had noticed during the war, as I've been there so much, that almost all of the security guards at the hotels where I stayed were uh, Palestinian Christians. So
Yeah.
they look Palestinian, but they're, and then I was like, wait, you guys are you Muslim? And no, no, we're Christians. So maybe that's what they were. I don't know.
Maybe
Interesting
you might be right,
for sure.
but I thought
Uh,
that was pretty interesting.
now you
These
made a
guys,
video. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, these guys, they look like straight up killers. The regular army guys, I mean, the conscripts, pockets unbuttoned, rifle, the sights are covered. Like, come on, you look like a, bag of. I'm not gonna say it. You look like a big old duffel bag with a big old lock on it, just kind of flopped over right there. But the infantry guys, they look good, right?
Mhm.
They looked ready. And the security guys, I wouldn't have wanted to mess with those guys because they looked like they were ready to go. But you had a question.
No, well, you guys did a. I saw there was an event that Chris Ruddy put on,
Mhm.
and Netanyahu actually came to it. So I'd like to hear how that went.
Well, it went kind of interesting. I thought we were going to be able to ask questions. We were not able to ask questions. He spoke for a little while. I mean, the event went fine. I was able to shake the president's hand, or the prime minister's hand, which was kind of neat. Um, but like no one was really able to ask questions. But the security surrounding him looked incredibly professional, and just getting in, they X-ray. It's no different than going to the White House. They X-ray all your stuff. I didn't bring my cigar cutter with me, right? Like I guess that could be considered a weapon. I don't want to be the guy that holds everything up.
Mhm.
But the amount of security, I think there was might have been roughly 10 guards that we could see, and then another platoon of security forces upstairs in the hotel, all loaded
Mhm.
with M4s, just ready to go. So
Yeah,
that actually really, really impressed me.
those guys are like Delta Force guys. I mean, they're
Yeah,
insane.
yeah,
And you watch Netanyahu walk by, and those guys are flanking him, and the
mhm.
looks on their faces, you're just like, those guys are serious. But I mean, they have to be. They
Yeah,
they had one of their prime ministers assassinated from right between them because a guy walked up behind them and killed. Was that? Oh shoot, I forget his name now. I just
Sharon,
spaced on his name.
was it
Anyway,
Sharon?
Ariel Sharon. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
I think it was. Yeah,
Anyway, so when you finished,
Rabin,
you
Yitzhak
put
Rabin. That was it.
Yitzhak Rabin. There we go.
Yitzhak Rabin.
Um, you put out a video
Yeah.
that said, I was wrong about Israel, and
Hmm.
that video has done really well. It's gotten a ton of views,
Yeah.
and it's been shared all. I've seen it shared on a bunch of like Telegram channels and things that I follow
Yeah.
that don't normally push your stuff out. So obviously, it struck a chord. Tell me about if you can encapsulate that video
Yeah.
into a quick couple of minutes.
So I think So I'm from Northern Ireland, right? Lisburn specifically, and when my family's Protestant. And so, kind of looking at the Israelis and the Palestinians, I always thought, like, oh, okay, the Palestinians are Catholics, right? All they need is some opportunity and their own homeland and self governance, and everything will be fine, right? That's all they want. And
Mhm.
I guess you kind of, coming from that background, you look at it from that lens. And then another lens I looked at it from was I was a soldier in Iraq. And I look at the Sons of Iraq, where we took Sunnis and we said, hey, you want to take back your country? Here's $250 a week. Put on this road guard vest, and here's this rifle. Here's 2 weeks of training. Go guard this checkpoint. Go take back your country from the Iranians who want to destabilize it. And it worked.
Mhm.
And I used to say, why the hell is Israel not creating a Sons of Palestine? And General Petraeus said the same thing. Like, hey, you guys need to create a Sons of Palestine. And the truth of the matter is that this is not Northern Ireland. And the Catholics and the Protestants, after the guns fell silent, could still talk to each other. I did not grow up hating Catholics. Nobody told me. My dad never told me don't trust a Catholic, right? He never
Mhm.
said that. But the Palestinians grow up being educated in schools to hate Israel, to hate them, to wipe them out, to push them into the sea. And when I look at Sons of Iraq, the Sunnis wanted to take back their country and go, you know what? We're sick of Iranian influence. Let's stop these Iranian militias from taking power, these Shiite Iranian militias from taking power. And we'll have a say in our own government. And that just wouldn't work in Israel, mainly because these guys, they just, if we gave the moderate Palestinians guns, if we could find any of them, if we gave the moderate Palestinians guns, after they took care of Hamas, they would turn right and head straight back into Israel.
Mhm.
And it's just, I don't know. I can state the problem. I don't know the solution, other than
Yeah.
to capture every single military-aged male and re-educate them.
Hmm.
That could take 30 years, and just tell them,
Yeah.
look, man, this behavior is not conducive to modern society.
Well, in
So
fact,
no,
the
that's
United States
yeah,
has actually tried that already by arming and training and equipping the police of the Palestinian Authority as the
yeah,
quote unquote moderates. And
yeah,
at least three times since the war started, we've had acts of terrorism that were perpetrated by Palestinian Authority police officers using the weapons and training and body armor that we had paid for with the U.S. taxpayer dollars and given them. I actually had met several groups of police officers that were uh, from the United States who came over on deployments to
yeah.
Israel to train the Palestinian Authority police. That program is done. It's not happening anymore because those were about the most moderate Palestinians we could find. And in fact, not so much. They've ended up committing various acts of terror. So yeah, I agree with you on that. What was the uh, what was your sense of the people that you met in Israel, the Israeli citizens, and how
Yeah.
they feel about whether or not they should continue to prosecute this war or make a deal, so to speak, and finish it?
It depends on who you talk to. For the most part, it seemed like most people wanted to make a deal and just wanted this to end. And a lot of that is because a lot of these people are reservists, and they've lost businesses. They've had to defer life. They've had to defer college. They've had to defer a lot of things in order to
Hmm.
do reserve service. And the fact that Israel doesn't really have a professional military, I mean that's a whole nother major issue, which I
Hmm.
actually addressed with a couple of people there, who said yes, it's a problem. And why don't you fix it? Well, because yes, it's a problem. Like, why it's interesting. I said that people brigade and below are amazing. Brigade and above, or above brigade, it's like you're
Don't
talking to the
bother.
Russian army.
That's right.
They're a
That's
lot
right.
more like the Russian army than the American army. It seems.
Yep,
Um,
absolutely.
just like I don't want to say an inability to learn from their mistakes, but I don't think I've ever met anyone so confident in their inability to affect change.
Hmm.
I can kind of put it that way, and that might just be their culture. We can't roll in as Americans and say no, you have to do it like this because this is the American way. But if something's wrong, maybe you ought
Yeah,
to
but
just
I've talked
do it.
extensively about the really incredible amount of hubris that you run into when you get to those higher ranks. And that's part of the reason why October 7th happened, because there were lower ranked people who were sending it up the chain of command and saying, there's a problem. We're going to get attacked. They're planning an attack. We have the documents of their operations orders and things like that. And the guys at the top were like, no, it's not going to happen. They couldn't do that to us.
Well, they didn't
They
plan for
just
it.
incredible hubris.
I mean, talking with some people, they said, look, at the time we were practicing LSCO, large scale combat operations against Egypt, and we were concerned about small squad level incursions in the south. And other than that, we weren't really. If you had gone to me, if I was an intelligence guy and you came to me and said, hey, the equivalent of 2 brigades of militia were going to bust through the fence and run wild for up to 24 hours, I think, in some cases.
It was more than that.
I
Yeah.
would,
It was,
I would have laughed you out of. Get out of here! You think I'm betting my
mhm,
career on that,
mhm,
right? So it's just not something I think they ever saw coming. And the level of operational security that Hamas had was absolutely incredible. Like
mhm.
no one must have used a cell phone. They must have all been runners, and
I've seen how
it's
you actually reported closer to the beginning of the war on that operations order that was captured, that they found on the guys after they were killed in Israel,
yeah.
and sort of broke it down that this was likely planned by a nation state actor. I mean, it's just
Oh,
not
Iran.
just
It
a
was.
ragtag group of guys.
Yeah, this was so I can speak Arabic okay, not great. I can't read it as well as I used to be able to read it. And so I asked some guys that I know to translate the documents, and they're all saying like the grammar, it's how an Iranian would speak. So a lot of this was
Hmm.
planned by Iran.
Hmm.
And like
Hmm.
Iran's fingerprints were all over this document.
Sure.
And
I,
that boy, that I guess I mean I had 2 theories for the attacks in general, like why October 7th happened. First theory was that Mahmoud Abbas, the head of the PLO, the head of Fatah in the West Bank, that guy, he's 86, I think. I think he was 84 when the war started. At 86, there's not a lot of room left on those actuarial tables, right?
mhm.
So I think one possible reason for the war was that Hamas was looking at the West Bank and going, you know what? Let's roll into Israel, grab as many prisoners as we can, roll back in, and then Israel will spend the next 5 years trying to do these little special forces raids here and there to grab people. We'll release some people every 5 months or so. And then when Mahmoud Abbas dies, we'll have some leverage to maybe gain power in the West Bank.
Mhm.
Or, number 2, Iran just wanted to sink the Saudi Israeli peace deal.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it could be either one of those things, right?
Well,
But I'm kind of leaning toward Iran. I'm kind of leaning toward this was Iran just kind of meddling. Iran can't build aircraft carriers. They can't build ballistic missiles that can reach the U.S., but they can export belligerence,
mhm.
right? And insurgency
Yeah,
export.
asymmetric war.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So let's pivot. And I want to ask you about some things related to your books. For those of you who don't know, Ryan's an author. It has 3 books in print and another one coming, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
And I haven't read Warlock, but I read The Wind Machine, which was great. It's a good book. I recommend it. And I read The Last Republic. Now, the Wind Machine is about a trading firm that has a quantum computer with AI that can look at trends, find patterns and stuff that a human being couldn't find, and it is essentially just minting money. In the book, you talk about the machine starts noticing that, for example, the Chinese are buying a lot more pork than usual, and it ascertains that the Chinese are actually canning that pork and trying to get their people used to eating spam in anticipation of going to a war where they're going to have some hardship, and they're going to have their people inured to that beforehand, which I thought was fascinating. It really got me thinking in a lot of different directions. How'd you come up with that? And how realistic do you think that sort of thing might actually be?
I think it's very realistic. You're gonna have. So I did a lot of research for that book, and including some of the indicators that might pop up. Another indicator was blood drives.
Hmm.
In China, people just don't give blood. It's just not a cultural thing, and a lot of that might go back to the '80s and HIV and such. But so I did a lot of research on that, and so spam would be an indicator. Pulling back from pulling out investments from other companies would be another indicator. A third indicator would be developing hard currency like gold, grabbing as much gold as possible. But the main thing is foodstuffs, and they have to get the population ready to live off of things like canned food because China owns Hatfield. The Chinese
Hmm.
company owns the Hatfield pork producing company. So they own one out of the top five pork producers. So you have all these farms in the US and all those pigs get slaughtered and that meat goes directly to China. And
Wow.
that's a heck of an indicator right there, right? Like
Yeah.
if they're starting to eat more canned pork and they have contests, cooking contests, who can cook the best meal with canned pork, that's a pretty good indicator that China might be getting ready to have to fight sanctions, right? Deal with sanctions. So
Wow.
I just came up with it just through a lot of research, and I turned a lot of that into a video about some of the indicators that we might see when China decides to invade Taiwan, which will probably be
That's
in
right.
2027, 2028.
Right. Well done on that one. Now,
Thank you.
moving to the Last Republic, um, that's a completely different story, and it has to do with what if the Church of Latter-day Saints, when they moved out to Utah back in the 1880s, 50s, something like
1849. No.
1850s, yeah.
1847, 1849. No.
Okay, so what if they had actually declared themselves a country and had become a separate country, and then we had this other country in the middle of the United States? And um, okay, I didn't pin you for a Mormon. I know you're a Christian. I didn't pin you for a Mormon. What gave you that idea? How'd you get started down
Yeah.
that road?
Well,
Because your next book is a sequel to that one, isn't it?
yeah, that's correct. So what happened with that was I like about 10 years ago when I got out of the military, I interviewed at Goldman Sachs in Salt Lake City as a quant. And a person who does software, you know what this is, but a person
Uh,
who writes trading software. And they were amazing. They brought me out there for the weekend, and they let me stay for they said stay for a week in the hotel. We'll pay for everything, and I stayed. And I really, really liked it. I explored the whole city. I explored the whole area. I got a better offer from a payroll company in New Jersey. I wanted to be close to my parents. But while I was there, I went to this one the Pioneer Museum, they call it. And they have all the artifacts from the Great Mormon Exodus. When they left the Midwest, they left Illinois, and they went all the way over to Utah, or well, the Utah territory. And like there was a piano there that like I guess someone would put it in their cart and then decide it was too heavy, so they'd put the piano on the ground, and someone else would come along and go, "Hey, a free piano!" They'd put it in their cart and move it a couple more miles down the road, and eventually the piano got there. But while I was there, I was talking with this one woman who was a curator at the museum, and she told me that Brigham Young was about this close to creating his own country called Deseret, and the borders were massive. So the borders of the
mhm.
original Deseret, with some exceptions, are made it into the real book. So initially, Deseret was Nevada, Utah, and a little bit of Southern California, some of Wyoming, some of Idaho. And
Wow.
so it was massive, this massive country, or this massive state. And eventually they decided to do the Utah territory and join the United States. But I thought about that, like, what would the world look like if that had actually happened? And so you have this predominantly LDS nation. Now there's Christians in it. There's Jews. I actually have in my notes that the SS St. Louis, which was a German ship that left during World War II, they left Germany, and it was denied portage in Cuba, and it was denied in Canada, and America turned the Jews away. But in my notes, Deseret actually took that ship, and that kind of became the nucleus of Deseret's Jewish population. But it's a multi-ethnic, multicultural state, and I just thought it would be kind of interesting to see what a theocracy, that is a democracy, it is a republic, but if you're not LDS, you can still get elected to their equivalent of Congress. You can still rise high in business and all that, but what would a theocratic state look like if it was in the middle of the U.S.? And as you see America kind of descending more and more into wickedness and secularism, you have this shining example of what a Christian-centered theocracy could actually look like, and it's not that bad. As long as you follow the rules, as long as you're willing to live by certain tenets, and you don't have to be religious, but it helps.
And don't carry an iPhone.
Well, so that was actually
not to give
you're
anything
right.
away, but
So yeah, I talk about in the first chapter that cell phones aren't banned. They were never really banned, but they were only explicitly legalized in the novel in 2020. And camera phones are banned because honestly, what they don't want is any kind of sedition or lasciviousness, right? Because the first thing someone does when they get their camera phone is, they might check their stocks, and the next thing they do is they start taking pictures of their private parts, right? And that's just, I'm serious. Like that's the very next thing they start doing, and Deseret doesn't want that. So the easy thing is, okay, well, we're just going to ban camera phones. You can still have a camera phone, but there's a permitting process and all that, and very, very few people own them. But if you have an iPhone,
yeah, I mean, what struck me about it was the picture you paint is of a country that is far more homogenous than our country is today. That country of Deseret, far more homogenous in that they uh, they are not deeply divided like we are. They are kind of in agreement with each other in terms of worldview, and what that looks like. And what's interesting is I'm sitting here in Armenia, and Armenia is that country that you recommend that you paint in Deseret in a lot of ways, because it's an extremely homogenous country. They were the world's first Christian nation, and so they still carry that on very proudly. You get off the airplane, by the time you get out of the airport in Yerevan, you'll be told at least three times that Armenia was the world's first Christian country. They are that proud of it. Um, so I just kept seeing these parallels between what I've experienced in Armenia and what you're writing about in this fictional country of Deseret. That's why I was telling you, like, you need to come to Armenia. You're gonna love it here. Um,
I'll check with my security manager. It was tough enough getting to Israel. I had to list every single place I was going. And of course, people are saying, well, how come you don't interview the people in Gaza? I'm like, well, because you imagine the security freaking briefing I would have to go through, because I still have a clearance. I still do work for the government.
yeah,
Right?
you don't want to lose that.
You
Right.
don't want to lose that one. You're absolutely correct.
Right.
But it's what's interesting is that in the book, in Last Republic, you have the LDS is the majority of the country. I think it's about 65%. And actually, not a lot of them engage in celestial marriage, like plural marriages. Polygamy is what we call it. They don't call it that.
Yeah.
Not a lot of them do, because it's just not a practical way to live today. Like in very rural areas, the very wealthy might have multiple wives, but just in a regular suburb, it's rare. But the Christians and the Catholics, the Protestants and the Catholics, they tend to be more religious as well, just because that's what the environment is, right? And so everyone's kind of on the same page You know,
Hmm.
you might be of a different faith, but you still all believe in the same God, and that makes them a very powerful adversary, and it gives them this collective, you said,
Yeah.
homogeneous society.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're working on the sequel to that now. I think you're calling it Lies to Rule Men. Is that right?
Maestro men, that's correct.
And
And
what can you tell me about where the story is going?
well, the second story is going to involve actually the invading Deseret and the efforts of one senator to try to stop this from happening. Um, Lies to Rule Men is essentially the invasion of that country and everything that goes wrong. There's also a Catholic uprising. So if you
Oh,
look at
wow.
because I just got the title of the book cover back from the publisher, from
Hmm.
the artist, and on the cover is an M1911A1 cartel, M1911A1, and Mexican cartels, or cross-border Mexican Deseret cartels, play a pretty predominant role in this, because essentially a lot of the people in what they call Gideon proper, which is mainly around Los Angeles, San Diego, a lot of them are Catholic, a lot of them are Mexican Deseret, and they don't want to be part of this war that's coming. And so they decide, you know what? If we rebel right now, we might stand a chance at not being involved in this war. Because you look at Salt Lake City, that's pretty darn far away. And now we got to go to war over a bunch of people we never even see, right? And I actually have in the book that a lot of the combat arms end up as a lot of the combat arms are Catholic and Protestant, and that's just kind of how it falls when people take their tests and all that. But it seems like LDS, they get the roles as pilots and logistics and intelligence, whereas the Catholics and Protestants, not across the board, but they tend to get spots in the infantry and armor and artillery. And so these guys are thinking, man, there's going to be a war. We're going to have a lot of Catholics die, and the LDS aren't necessarily sharing in the cost of that. So many of the Catholics stage a rebellion. So that's kind of the basic
Well,
general plot.
I can't wait to read it, and I recommend it highly to lots of people. Start with The Wind Machine, though. I mean, that's a fantastic book. I love books that help me think more clearly about how the future might play out. And since I was a stockbroker for 10 years, I enjoyed that one quite a bit. So, uh, how can people find you and, your gear and all that stuff?
Well, a lot of my good writing is on ryanmcbeth.substack.com. You can also go to ryanmcbeth.com, which is my website. And I actually do sell T-shirts. I actually made patches for the Mormon F-16 unit. That you might, yeah. I mean, you can buy these patches. The Captain Moroni Squadron.
I have found
I
myself
have.
saying that, using the phrase "warheads on foreheads" quite a bit lately, mostly because you reminded me of it with your T-shirt that says that. So I'm going to have to get one of those T-shirts, and I'll wear it on my live sometime.
You can find that patch at bunkerbranding.com. A
And
lot of
the
people
and the
seem to like.
behoove sticker
Uh,
too. I love
yeah,
that
I
stuff.
mean, this is actually a really popular seller. You hear this word a lot in the army.
I know. I never understood when I was in the military why they use that word. Like, what do little tiny bee feet have to do with anything, with me learning anything? But that's just the army for you. It doesn't have
Yeah,
to make
right.
sense, right?
Does
Well,
not have to make sense.
thank you, brother. I appreciate your time. I know you got other stuff to move on to, but I'd love to have you back on again, and uh, keep your stick on the ice.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Sure.